So today we'll do Brussels sprouts 5 different ways. Traditional way, oven roasted right here. Can't go wrong with that. Pan seared, the same way you'll sear a steak. Seafood boil, we boiled this in seafood, kept them whole. Delicious. It goes in a lot of crab boils. Air fry is very convenient. You throw a bunch of stuff together, air fry it, pop it out. Crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. It's great. And my favorite of all, we have deep fry. Everything tastes better deep fried. Y'all let me know which ones y'all want to try or have tried, and what's the best way that y'all like to go about making Brussels sprouts. Let's get into it.
But first, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. We just hit 100,000 subscribers, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all. So boom, we're going to start off with our Brussels sprouts. You can get them right on the stalk, or you can just get them right at the grocery store in the produce section. Brussels sprouts used to be a terrible bitter vegetable until this Dutch scientist figured out how to take that bitterness out and make it some delicious vegetable, and he is my hero and deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. But back to this recipe. We're going to go ahead and add our Brussels sprouts to a bowl. You can clean them however you want. Use a vegetable cleaning spray. Use whatever. Soak it underwater. However you want to do it. Rinse it off and do that. Just always make sure you're cleaning off your vegetables. To me, it's necessary. Now we're going to go ahead and prep them. For the boiled ones, we're going to keep them whole. You don't need to chop them up. As far as the rest of the methods go, this is what we're going to do. Slice off a bit of the stem at the end. You don't want to go too far because we don't want the leaves to separate from the whole Brussels sprout. As you can see, everything is still put together and we have our whole Brussels sprout. Now we're going to cut it vertically. This will not only cook the Brussels sprout faster, but it'll also give it a nice level surface for a good sear. They do sell Brussels sprouts already cut and trimmed for you at the store. It might be a little bit more expensive, so I recommend just cutting them yourself. But if you're lazy and don't want to do it that way, just go ahead and get them already cut in the bag and you're good to go just as well. Now that we have everything together, we're going to separate our Brussels sprouts into 5 different bowls so we can hit 5 different methods. And everything to flavor these Brussels sprouts are going to be consistent. We're going to have salt, pepper, and granulated garlic. Nothing special, straight to the point. Now to bind everything together, we'll use something like an olive oil. It'll also help with the crisping up of these Brussels sprouts. But today I'm going to use something a little bit different. If you know me, you know I love clarified butter. And if you know me even more, you know I love garlic. I went to the store and I found this garlic clarified butter and I was sold. I had to try it out. If you don't know, clarified butter is just regular butter with the milk and water removed and you're left with just butter fat. You can use it in pastas, meats, vegetables, all that. It's the same way you would use regular butter. It's a little bit on the pricier side, but it's what I enjoy, so that's what I like to get. And no, this is not a sponsored post, but this is just all the other types of clarified butter I saw at the store. So y'all just go ahead and give it a try sometime. But back to the recipe. We want to go ahead and melt it down so it has that same consistency as the olive oil. And our first method we'll work on is our baked Brussels sprouts. Or you can call them oven roasted. Add in the butter or oil, and then you're going to come with your salt, pepper, and granulated garlic. Give it a good mixing, make sure everything is well seasoned. And remember, if you ain't sneezing, it ain't seasoned. Not only should you taste the seasoning, you should see it as well. From here, we'll get a non-stick oven-safe pan. Now you want to lay every Brussels sprout face down like this. The reason you do this is because when it heats up in the oven, it'll develop a nice crust on the bottom. Not only will it give it a great flavor, but it'll also give it great presentation, and people eat with their eyes first, so you always want to make sure your presentation is on par. We're going to pop our Brussels sprouts in the oven on 400 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. Check them at the 20-minute mark, and then you're going to go ahead, pop them out, and look at this. Yes, Lord. Now we're going to move on to our pan-seared version. This is a method I started using a couple years ago and I fell in love with it. What we're going to do is we're going to melt down the butter on the bottom of the pan and then we'll season it in the pan. So instead of seasoning the Brussels sprouts, we'll go ahead and season this butter that we'll place the Brussels sprouts in. Again, hit it with the salt, pepper, granulated garlic. You get to add stuff like paprika, ranch mix. I like to add ranch mix sometimes, but for this, we're staying consistent with the salt, pepper, granulated garlic. Again, you're going to put the Brussels sprouts face down to develop a nice sear, and all that flavor will stick to the crust. Add some more butter as needed. We're going to let that go for about 3 minutes untouched. Flip it over and look how beautiful that sear is. Oh my God, we're getting better and better with each recipe. Now from here, we'll flip them over and cover it and let that steam really cook those Brussels sprouts and make them nice and tender. Do this for another 3 to 4 minutes and then you're good to go. And a little bit later in this video, we'll get into the sauce or glaze that goes on top. This is what we would add that into the Brussels sprouts and mix it up and get it nice and caramelized. But for now, we'll get into our next method, which is deep fry. We aren't going to season these at all because we don't want it to just fall off in the fryer. So we'll season it after we deep fry it. Brussels sprouts retain a lot of water. So initially, when you put it into the grease, it'll really start to bubble up. So you want to make sure that your grease is deep enough. We'll fry this on about 350 to 375 degrees for about 3 to 4 minutes. That's all you need to get some beautiful crispy Brussels sprouts. We're gonna go ahead and let that drain, take them out, and now we'll hit it with that butter, salt, pepper, granulated garlic. This is by far one of my favorite methods. Super crispy, full of flavor. I love it. Now on to the next method. It's 2023 and the air fryer has taken over and I'm completely here for it. Again, hit it with your butter, your seasonings, all that. The air fryer I use, you can find in my Amazon storefront, or you can get it at Target. It's a collab with Ghetto Gastro and Crux. They sent it to me a couple years ago and I just love it. We're gonna set the air fryer to 400 degrees and we're gonna let it cook for about 12 minutes, flipping halfway through. We have a finished product that will resemble fried Brussels sprouts without all the oil. Now to our final method, seafood boiled Brussels sprouts. And I lied earlier, for this one we're not using salt, pepper, granulated garlic, we're using the seafood boil seasoning. In the South, throwing Brussels sprouts in your seafood boil of any kind is very common. Bring your water to a boil, then we're gonna drop our Brussels sprouts in there and let them soak for about 15 minutes. Pull them out and they'll be full of flavor. All that crab boil is soaked all throughout the Brussels sprouts and they'll be nice and tender. And we have all our Brussels sprouts done. Let's get into a glaze. Now for this, you want to start off with some type of fat. Of course, we're using clarified butter in this recipe, but these are a few other things that I like to use. If you're from the New Orleans area, they have this place called Drigo's. They have this butter that they use on their oysters and everything. Perfect. It's not really feasible if you live out of the state. It's kind of expensive, but they do sell it online. Then you have Old Reliable olive oil. And another one I found at a farmer's market would be this butter. It's called Maiden Nola. The actual company is called Buttery Spell. They have a bunch of different varieties, but this one specifically has things like garlic, onion, parsley, Italian seasoning, oreganos, chives, all that. Sometimes I even like to put bacon in it and use the rendered fat from the bacon as the fat for the sauce. Now, once our butter is melted, we're gonna go ahead and add in some fresh minced garlic, along with some crushed red peppers if you have a spice tolerance. If you don't have to add that. And aromatics don't take no time to saute. You're only gonna get this sauteed for about 30 seconds before we move on to the next step. And of course, I love spice, so I gotta add my pepper flakes. Now we're gonna come with about a tablespoon of balsamic vinaigrette. Next, about a tablespoon of low sodium soy sauce. Then we're gonna come with our chili sauce. I like to use this one from Zia's restaurant. It's delicious. If you don't have that, you could always use any type of Thai chili, sweet chili sauce that you could get at the store. I added about 1/3 of a cup, but add as little or as much as you want. We're gonna give that a good mixing and let it come to a nice boil before letting it reduce to a simmer until it thickens into a nice glaze. It should look a little something like this, and we're gonna add this on all of our Brussels sprouts. Now let's go ahead and get into the tasting of all this. First, we have the crab boil.
It's just straight crab boil. It's spicy. If you don't like spice, you probably won't like this. And a lot of crab boils in New Orleans and Louisiana, they like to add anything, and Brussels sprouts is one of them. Let's try it. You just pop these whole things back like that. Delicious. It's spicy, and I put that sweet chili on there, so that's good. Oven baked. That's good too. Both of those were kind of on the tender sides. Now we're gonna get into the crispier things. These are pan seared. Anything pan seared is delicious. It's air fried. It has a softer inside, crispy outside. That was good though. The outside was just a little tough for me. And then my favorite of all, deep fried. Perfect. It's just perfect. Please excuse my smacking, that's toe up. But if y'all like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on those push notifications for more videos just like this. And just like my name, y'all done.